Good night. Today we're going to start talking about teach and listen. This is chapter 2. And first we want to start with the statement of Mary Underwood. She said that the reason our students have for listening will generally fall under uh, one or another of these categories: social rituals, exchange information, exert control, sharing feeling, or enjoy themselves. Then we're going to explain a little bit about how the principles are organized. This is divided into similarities and differences. In similarities, we can say that the listening and reading are parallel, spoken on tidy aspects like pronunciation, irregular verbs, etc. And reading passive is passive and listening is active. Listening is by hearing and the reading is by seeing. This is about similarities. Talking about the differences, we can say that listening is less densely packed, more informal, and less complex in grammar. If we are talking about reading, we can say that is more repetitive, more complex grammar, and more formal. Next, I want to mention the stages in listening state by Richards. The first point is clausal basic of speech, then reduced forms, then on grammatical forms, rhyme and stress, rate of delivery, pausing and speech errors, and cohesive device. These are the stages according to Richard. Okay, one of the definition explained in this reading is the definition about the schema theory by Bathrell in 1933. He said that the ways that our knowledge of the world is brought to bear on how we interpret what we hear. Usually, this theory is based on reading but also applies for the listening. Then I'm going to number the listening process. This listening process I'm going to present is stated by Richards. Okay, the first one is the type of interaction, followed by scripts, then the goals, the propositional meaning, the illocutionary meaning, and finally retaining information and acted upon. Okay. Talking about classroom consideration, I'm going to mention some of the important points they say in the reading. The first one is effective factors of learner interest and motivation, individual preferences, authenticity of the material, real life listening, varieties of English, lingua franca core, and the simplification. According to this reading, they mention how to integrate the listening in a classroom in classroom activities. They are mentioned three stages. The first one is the pre-listening, followed by while listening, and finally the post-listening. Okay. In the first one, the pre-listening activities. In this stage, what the teacher does is try to engage the students in thinking and predicting at a reasonably high cognitive level. Also, in the second stage, that is while listening, also a teacher try to make students engage with the thinking and predicting reasonable high cognitive level. And finally, in the last stage, that is the post listening, in this stage, what the teacher does is the use of the audio as a check of prediction and to help students better understand. These are the three stages how we integrate the listening in a class. Next, I'm going to explain my lesson plan, how can organize a listening lesson plan. This is divided in pre-tasks, while tasks, and post-tasks. Okay, in pre-tasks, I have 5 activities. The first one is sharing information. Students will look at a pyramid and answer some questions. Number 2, personalizing. Students will draw a food pyramid that represents the food they eat more often in the big amounts. The top has to represent the food they rarely eat. Number 3, classification. Students will look some food pictures on the board and classify into unhealthy and unhealthy food in their notebook. Activity number 4, personalizing. Students will complete a table with healthy and unhealthy food they like to eat. And the last activity of the pre-task is activating previous knowledge. In this last activity, students will look at different pictures of supplements and vitamins. Then they will answer these questions. What are these? And have you ever taken vitamins or supplements? With this, we finish the pre-task and we continue with the while task. In the while task, we only have 2 activities, okay? Number 1 is the global listening. Students will listen to a person talking about taking vitamins and supplements. They will listen to the track and answer a true or false exercise. Activity number 2, selective listening. Students will listen again and answer some specific questions. And finally, we are in the post-task. In this, we have 4 activities. The first one is notice structure. Students will look at the board to sentences extracted from the listening and answer some questions to complete a paragraph. Activity number 2, sentence completion. Students will listen to the track and complete more sentences using the same structure. Number 3, practicing. Students will play with some dice. The first one will have food pictures, the second will have the person pronouns, and the last one will have positive, negative, or question mark for a free decision to write a sentence positive, negative, according to them. And number 4, writing. Students will write a short paragraph about what they like to eat. And this is how we finish our second chapter about teaching listening.